So, good morning, everyone. I hope you're all feeling happy and healthy. We've got some lovely people to talk to you today. We have got Jo Riley from Art Gene to talk about the Earnse project. And we've got Fliss Watts telling us about her upcoming solo exhibition, Skulduggery at the People's Museum in Kendal. And Isla Coley, who is a museum assistant. Though I think you had a job title that you sent me, Isla, that I've not absorbed. Is that museum assistant? Correct. Excellent. And then we're going to hear from Sam Mason about Fells in Frame, which is a Cumbrian short film showcase plus filmmaker Q&A at Brewery Arts in Kendal. So a nice mix of things this morning. And we're going to start with Jo, who's got a few slides to share. If you'd like to crack on when you're ready, Jo. And yeah, if anyone has any questions about the Earnse project, feel free to pop them in the chat.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Amy, for the slides. So yeah, thanks for this opportunity. And I start with an apology because I feel like I've been on this call about 4 times in less than 4 months. So you're sick of hearing my voice, but it just so happens I had a range of things to tell you about. So thank you for your patience. Yeah, so the Earnse project is a natural heritage project on Walney Island. And it's a collaboration between Westmoreland and Furness Council, who have had, as you can see there, levelling up money and town deal money. And with that money have formed something called Brilliant Barrow. So there is a Brilliant Barrow board. So a collaboration between all of those people and 3 other organisations, Natural England, Cumbria Wildlife Trust, and ourselves, Art Gene, as the creative partner. So Earnse, oh, thank you. So Earnse project is based at North Walney, just on Earnse Bay. If you haven't been there, perhaps have a look on a map. But it's kind of between the last of the housing estates on North Walney and the National Nature Reserve, the NNR, which is at the north end of the island. Thank you, Amy. So this design is an old design, in fact. It's not going to look quite like this, but just to try and orientate you a bit. The green arrow are some car parking spaces which look over the water, look over to the Isle of Man and the wind farms. The red triangle is pointing towards the chalets. So all of those symbols represent a chalet park, and it's not a holiday park, it's for residents. So it's a place where people live. You have to be over 50 to live there, and there are a lot of elderly people who have made a home there after retirement. And then if the blue arrow is pointing to a kite school, it's like a shack near the car park, which is adjacent to it there. And that's a relatively new thing, just pre-COVID, a local entrepreneur, landscaper, who happens to be a kite surfer, has set up this wonderful facility for local young people to do something a bit different down at the water on Walney. And then the site that we're talking about today, so the Earnse project, is the section with the yellow arrows in it. It's currently a sports field. When I was a kid, I grew up on the estate just south of here off the map. When I was a kid, it was a sports field, a football pitch with like a changing room attached to it. It's been let go for years. It's basically scrubland now. And for a very long time, the NNR team, who managed the nature reserve at the North End, have had no base. They've had nowhere to work with volunteers, to store their tools or anything like that. So the project started with kind of partly with that need. You know, we need to have some presence on the site. Our staff have to travel a very long way. but mainly it's driven by the need to engage the public much more effectively with the wonderful, wonderful coastline that we have, the great nature. It's designated, more times than you can shake a stick at. It's an absolutely fantastic place. But there are too many people locally who don't know enough about the incredible species we have and the rarity of the landscape, which is at the north end is mainly dunes and marram grass and ponds and natterjack toads, and kidney vetch and small blue butterflies. And last Saturday I saw a short-eared owl. So yeah, it's an amazing place. The big yellow arrow, that's the biggest of the two, is pointing to what is proposed to be the new Natural England building. And from there, we would run a beach school. So like mainly a facility for young people to learn about nature with a little bit of space for the staff, as I say, and a tool room for the volunteers. Then the building kind of south of that, next door, would be run by West Blue and Furness Council. It'd have a small cafe and a shop, just a place for people to come together who live on this estate, and the former council estate, which is just off the map. There's no real facility there. The caravan park used to have a little tiny shop many years ago that closed, and there's no way of people kind of connecting really, except on the beach itself. And you can imagine the beach is often very windy and can be a bit inhospitable. The other smaller arrow is in the proposed landscape section of the site, and is adjacent to some proposed growing spaces, so like maybe a polytunnel and some plots for the community to use. There's also plans for a very small amount of family and group camping. The round shape in the middle is a planning necessity. So because it was a sports amenity field, in planning, the National Sports Agency have said, oh, you need to retain some sporting element. So there's going to be like a small rounders pitch, but it's going to be quite softened by natural planting. This whole green area hopefully will be a wildflower meadow, an orchard, whatever the local people want it to be, really. This plan is very, very broad brush, and is up for change. So if we move on, next slide. So this is the field. This is what it's. Sorry, I didn't have a very good picture of it. We were talking of the weather earlier on, right before others came on the call. This was unbelievably June. And you can see the team who are planning this project together had to wear bubble hats. It can be pretty wild down there. You can just see in the picture there on my right, Stephen, who's the chief executive of Cumbria Wildlife Trust, and there are some members of Wildlife Trust in that picture, as well as the Natural England and the council. So yeah, we're coming together, we're working really, really hard, very collaboratively, and it's quite intense. So I should have said right at the beginning, we've got a development grant from the National Lottery Heritage Fund. So the scheme as a whole will be somewhere in the region of 5 million, I think. But we have, when I say we, it's mainly Natural England, Artgene and Cumbria Wildlife Trust working on the beach school part of the project. We're applying to the National Lottery for the kind of kit out of the beach school, a lot of the landscaping and play areas, and a lot of activity. So it's mainly lots of outreach activity that is planned. We will submit a second round application to the National Lottery next June, and so we're in consultation phase at the moment, and hence me coming to talk to you as well. If we go to the next slide. So yeah, we're doing consultation. Again, this is May, I think, maybe April. I would have expected nicer weather. we're all wrapped up. It was absolutely freezing that day. But yeah, we're trying to do lots of activities with kids, as well as talk to their parents about what they think about the possibility of this new facility in a place that has not had really any infrastructure ever since in the 50 years I've been born, and I've been familiar with the place. potentially quite controversial. I didn't want it, I confess, if I'm allowed to say that. I was worried about it. In the end, decided if you can't beat them, join them, and that by being involved, by involving Artgene, we could make sure that it's perhaps the best it can be, and something that will be really something for us all to be really proud of. So the next one. It's been in development, I should say, for a very long time, quite a number of years. So yeah, we're consulting on proposed 5 strands, and they're the ones that begin community spaces and places. So community spaces and places, most of the activity, I should say, will happen on the site itself or on the NNR, and we'll try and encourage people from one place to the other. But community spaces and places is a little project that's happening all over town. And you might have seen some surveys going out about creating more nature in Barrow. So that's about encouraging the community to think about places where we could plant, a bit like your guerrilla planting idea we were talking about earlier, places people can green up Barrow Town Centre. Learning Naturally is the beach school. It's all about school children, volunteering citizen science. There's tons of survey, monitoring and protection that needs to happen around the beach. We want to involve as many people as we can in that work. There's a big wellbeing element, you can imagine. Mind are involved, and the Cumbria Wildlife Trust Bay team have been doing lots of NHS work, so that's a strand of this project as well. And then Artgene, we've called it Creative Collisions. That might change, but we really want to kind of make sure that there's a creative and art strand involved in the project. It's proper consultation, so we're not just asking the public to tell us that they love our 5 ideas. We're trying to take on new ideas, and the 2 that have stood out for me so far as possibles for us to develop over the next few months. So could we have a youth empowerment element? Could we create an element where young people can control something and do something for themselves? And then a second idea has come forward that we're working with all the disability charities in Barrow. So could this be a really exemplar space in the natural heritage world for access and inclusion? Can it be as good as it can possibly be to ensure that disabled people and those with additional needs can really benefit from it and use it and feel ownership of it? And then next slide. So this is, I was just looking this morning, this is what I wrote in a little bit of the bid. This is an area where it's inundated by sea level rises, not the field where we're building, that's safe, but the beach itself and some of those chalets I showed you, they're all at risk. So there's the real world issues happening down on Walney, and we want to use creativity to help people think about those and what the solutions might be. And then the next slide. We have track record of working with Natural England down at Walney. Some of you, if you've ever been to walk on the coastal path, may have come across Maddie Nicholson's artwork, which is One for Sorrow. So this is a gate that was created as part of a Fort Walney project. You might know there's an airport at Walney, which is now run by BAE Systems, but way back in the past was hard standing, and the area kind of behind the airport was used for in the First and the Second World Wars, and people trained there. Young soldiers trained there. They trained in trenches for the First World War, and so this is a non-civic war memorial, beautifully designed by Maddie, and still on the site. And then if we go to the next slide. So we've said pretty vaguely at the moment, we could do events that are creative, we could do residencies. I'm most excited about Maddie's idea of getting artists and scientists together and exploring, what could come out of that kind of conversation and collaboration. And then, we've got a track record of doing exhibitions in the outdoors, and there's a possibility for that. And then on that map, I showed you an arrow, this smaller yellow arrow. Around the site, there may be places where we can place installations and commission temporary works, a bit like the fourth plinth type idea. So there are ideas, but I really want to hear from you, not just now, but over the next few months, and hopefully through a questionnaire as well, about what you would like to happen here, what might be the opportunities we could create for you as an artist, and any other ideas you want to throw at us. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Jo. That was really interesting, actually, to hear all about Earnse. Is that correct? Because I said
Earnse, yeah.
Earnse. Yes. Sorry about that. I should have checked the pronunciations before we've got a visitor. I think Rosie really enjoyed hearing all about that. We've got a question from Amy.
Oh, thanks for telling us about that, Jo. That project sounds just wonderful, really exciting. I just wondered, I suppose you're seeing a lot more of this with arts organisations getting involved in environmental things, sustainability, but I just wondered, what was the initial prompt? How did ArtGene become involved? Because they didn't have to be involved. So is it because people at ArtGene have got that interest, or what was the initial thing for them to get involved?
Thank you. Well, it was Maddie and I in a meeting. Someone new joined Natural England. Maddie's got a really strong relationship with Natural England. We're working with them for years. But a new person joined who's got a background in participation, Claire Green, and she came to talk to us, to ask us. She was sent really to ask us, as a community organisation in the area, what we thought about the project, and we were really honest. We said we didn't really like the sound of it. We thought we might be, at risk of being a horrible white elephant. So yeah, then that led to more conversations, and we kind of came round. It became obvious it was going to happen. And if something's going to happen and you're a little bit worried about it, then what can you do but just try and make it better? So that's what we're trying to do. And it will be great. It will be absolutely great, and not just because of our involvement. I think we're a lot less skeptical now that we've seen the commitment, and we've seen the likely investment, and also the passion, the genuine passion. We see a lot in Barrow. I know Liz is on the call. We call it, Maddie and I call it poverty porn. We get an awful lot of organisations from outside the town wanting to work with us, because we can deliver them an audience. And we always put people through the bullshit test, forgive my language at this time in the morning. But yeah, this partnership has passed, and we're really pleased to be involved.
I've got a question from Derek.
Thank you. I've been thinking very hard about this, because it seems to me that your reservations were probably not simply to do with whether it might work or not, but whether or not it was both valid and viable to, if you like, give nature a helping hand, because so many of these coastal areas are under threat for various reasons, not least the climate crisis. And what you're proposing is a far cry from some of the horrors that have been inflicted on parts of the coast elsewhere. With the people who actually live nearby in those chalets, what level of support did you initially have, and how have you won them over?
Oh, thank you. That's a lovely question. I was in, Liz will know this very well as well. I was in Northscale Community Centre last night, where Liz teaches ballet in her spare time. And we were talking to that exact community about the project. And one woman did come in, very anti, but I'm pleased to say after half an hour, talking to, not me, but a wonderful woman who works on the council, she left reassured. So that's a nice story. Yeah, people, that the plan I showed you was one of the original ones that they consulted on a couple of years ago. And these chalets are they're permanent residences, but not robust, you know, I don't know what they're made of, but they could go up in flames. And so there was a huge amount of issue about, you know, the possibility of camping and fires and sparks. As you can imagine, that would be, you know, very challenging for people. There was concerns about, you know, the elevation of the structures so that their view wasn't blocked, and a whole range of other, you know, concerns, very legitimate. So yeah, the plans have changed a lot in response to those comments. So that, again, it's an example of the consultation being very real. And I'm really delighted to say that the chair of the Residents Association, who is a teaching assistant in Barrow, is the greatest ambassador for the project. And that's like beyond, you know, beyond our wildest dreams. She's going to really get stuck in, and she's, you know, she distributes the newsletter and will write the content, and she's very up for, you know, being an extra liaison point, and she'll hopefully be involved in, you know, the stakeholder group that we form to help kind of inform the project when it gets going proper.
Does anyone else have any questions for Joe? Or did that answer your question, Joe? All good.
Yes, but I suppose if you look at the Cumbrian coast in general, there are a lot of places where nature is changing the landscape without any assistance at all, and is likely to do more. And I suppose it reminds me in a way of what happens with a listed building. You list it as it is at the time, not as it was when it was originally built. And I suppose that one thing that must be an important consideration is to have whatever change you make needs to be sustainable.
Yeah, so I feel very strongly that any structures, they're going to be modular, fairly low carbon. I hope we're going to be able to build in as much renewable energy as we can on the site. But I think there's a much more pressing issue. Those people on the call who are local, Andrew, will know that the chalets on the front, so that, as I understand it, I'm not the expert on this, I think the council has decided to go for no intervention on you know, the next thing that the high tide decides to do, and I think there is the longer term plan to move those chalets that are right on the front further back, you know, so that they're going to do, I can't remember what they call it, managed retreat, is it? So I think there's just an acceptance that, you know, that there isn't a, I'm not an expert. I can't really talk about it because I don't know whether it's a financial decision or a nature-based decision to let, you know, some of that land be reclaimed by the sea. I perhaps I need to go and investigate that a bit more. I know that there's been some separate public consultation led by the local council with the residents on the issue of coastal erosion. But because I don't live on that park itself, I haven't attended.
No, sorry. I was just having a major coughing fit in the background there. Monique, would you like to ask your question quickly? And I'm just going to take 2 minutes to recover.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, so how, if to be practical, how can we get involved, and how do you see the consultation on artists being involved happening?
Thank you. So for reasons that we'll come on to a bit later in the call, it's been a bit of a tough week for me and my organisation. So what I'd hoped when I asked Tom if I could come on the call today, what I plan to do is to have ready a questionnaire for you and to put that in the link, but I'm afraid I haven't had time to do that. But maybe I'll put it in the link next week if that's okay. So there'll be like just a way of you giving back your ideas or needs and wants. And we'll try and incorporate as much of that as we can. But yeah, I'd hope to build in plenty of budget for, you know, visiting artists, people with an interest in art and ecology, and to create some residencies. So the place should open in around about summer 26, just to manage your expectations, around about summer 26, and the funding would last for 5 years. So in that period, we'd hope to have, you know, a lot going on, that is informed by people like you. But yeah, I'll be in touch on another day, Monique, if that's okay. And we would also, with your other hat on, I really hope to have a really good composting system on the site as well.
It's always exciting.
Maybe it can be put in the next newsletter.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, Jo. And yeah, I'm really sorry that I had to duck out for a second there. I've had something COVID-y, and just occasionally it comes back to haunt me. So yes, if I disappear off again, it's because I'm dying somewhere on the floor a meter to the left. Just crack on without me. Oh dear. Just what you want when you're chairing a Zoom call. Oh dear. Right. I think it would be lovely to move on to Fliss and hear all about Skulduggery. But yeah, thank you so much, Jo. I think you gave a really well-rounded perspective on the Earnse project. And I think I would say, for having known very little about it myself before, you've given a really good impression of what that could grow into. And I feel quite well informed as a member of the public. So thank you very much. Over to you, Fliss.
Hi. Right, this is much smaller thing than we've just been hearing about, but very exciting for me. And most of the really important information is in this slide. So if I disappear or the slides die, commit that to memory and you'll know what you need to know. Basically, I've got an exhibition, a solo exhibition coming up next month, as you can see, at the People's Gallery in Kendal Museum. Yeah, I'm here to pitch it and encourage as many people as possible to come to the open evening on the 16th of August. There will be wine and nibbles and art and hopefully good chat and all that kind of stuff. Next slide, please. Right, this is going back a bit. As you can see, in 2019, and some of you may remember, I had an exhibition at the old fire station in Carlisle, which was all about climate, well, sort of about the climate crisis, but more about our blindness or our willful blindness to what's been going on for the last decades. And the exhibition was quite well received and it was quite portable. And so I thought at that time, with a great amount of self-indulgent glorification, that I was going to take it around the country, put it in a transit van and go all over the place. And then COVID kind of put a spanner in that works. I did manage to do another version of the exhibition at Florence Art Centre in 2021, and a couple of little sort of variations on it. So last year, when there was a call out from the People's Gallery saying they had a sudden cancellation and a gap to fill, was anybody interested? I thought, aha, this is my chance to get beyond West Cumbria and North Cumbria. But they found a different group to fill that space, and said, would I like to come back this year, which gave me more than a year to think about how to develop the exhibition and do something a bit different. So that's what Skulduggery is. And it will include some of the work from the previous exhibition, but then some of that work is being repurposed and a whole lot more stuff that I've made in the last 12 months plus. Yeah, next slide, please. So as I said, the first one was all about humanness, really, and human thought processes and things. This is more about the rest of the planet and the things that live on it, and in particular about biodiversity loss. And it was very much inspired by reading that book, The Sixth Extinction, which is fascinating and fairly devastating. And it turned out when I went, because I'd shamefully, I'd never been to Kendal Museum or the People's Gallery before this all happened. And when I went there, I realized it was the absolutely perfect place to put on an exhibition on this theme, because it is full of natural history collections of taxidermy and skeletal remains of animals from all over the world. So it was very serendipitous that that matched, brilliantly. Yeah, what am I supposed to say next? I'm galloping through because I'm panicking slightly about this, talking to a room full of people who I can't see.
Don't panic, Fliss.
No, I know. Please, if anybody has any questions, at the end, if I've been totally incoherent, just let me know.
People are welcome to pop them in the chat as well. And I'll spotted there's a message from Andrew, so we'll get to that as well.
The other aspect of this is that it's not just about climate change. It's about the things we have done to the planet in all kinds of ways that have affected the viability of various ecosystems. So, the anthropogenic causes of extinction, and this is our first time around doing this. We've had 5 previous mass extinctions on the planet. This one is ours. We've done it by changing the climate. We've done it by disrupting habitats, by chopping bits of habitat off from each other, or by moving animals to other parts of the world, which then destroy that new habitat that they're in, like rabbits to Australia, or just disease to the Americas. There's a huge number of ways in which we humans have become the dominant species, and it links to colonial history and the kind of attitude that the planet is infinitely available to us and it's ours. And I think that's another aspect of the collections in the museum, which, these things were brought back from over there by colonial Brits to go, oh, look, they've got these strange animals on the other side of the world. And it all felt very far away and distant. But now we realize it's all not far away and distant. It's all connected. Next slide, please. The title of the exhibition, Skulduggery, is really a bit of a pun. It's just a nice word. It's not exactly relevant to the context, except that it means dodgy dealings, deceitfulness, and there are some dodgy dealings going on, obviously, among certain parts of the economy. I won't name any names, but BP, Shell. So I just like the word, really. That's the main reason. Also, that there are a lot of skulls in the exhibition, and that is half self-indulgence, because I like looking at skulls. I have accumulated a small collection of skulls, either from finding them myself or other people finding them and giving them to me because they know I'm interested, or people lending them to me. So I used that availability and enjoyment of just their exquisite things as a reason for, and that's why I enjoy making the things. But also I thought you can't make a drawing or a painting of mass extinction. You can only draw or depict, well, I personally, because I don't do conceptual art in that sense, I like to make images of things that I can look at, and they're particular things. They have to be particular things. But there's this wonderful thing which I think somebody in the audience may remember me asking about on Facebook, the word for the rhetorical device of using the individual or the part to stand for the whole, or vice versa, and which is synecdoche. And that is what I decided to use as my excuse for having lots of skulls. The skull as standing in for the animal, the death of an animal, the death of an individual animal standing in for the loss of a whole species. So that's my sort of slightly after the fact rationale for claiming that these images of skulls are about mass extinction. Hopefully there are enough skulls that you will feel the massness of it and come away totally depressed. But
what do you know what kind of skull it is in the image there?
It's a sheep skull, which was one of the photographic one.
Yes, but
that
I mean, it's the other one for sheep.
Is I think now, what did I think that was? I think I came to the conclusion that the one at the bottom, sideways on, is a young jackdaw. But I might be confused. I've got about 5 or 6 different bird skulls now, and last year, if you'd asked me, I would have been able to say which was which, but I'm beginning to forget. Above it, the little one above it is, I think that's the back of the goldfinch skull. That I know it's that because the goldfish sadly died, and I buried it and then disinterred it when it had lost all its feathers, etc. So yeah, I've got some owl skulls that I was given. I've got skulls that have been found, and obviously you're not necessarily, unless you've got an expert, you're not quite sure what bird they are. But I think I've got a sparrow possibly, and the goldfinch, and a pigeon. Pretty sure about the pigeon. So yeah, anyway, if anybody's interested in skulls and wants to come and help me properly identify things, that'd be great. Or somebody in the museum, actually. Where was I? Yeah, so skulls, lots of skulls. The other aspect of the exhibition, which is a kind of accidental thing, but it's turned out to be an exhibition of printmaking. So next slide, please. I acquired this little press last autumn, and it's been great. And I then got into doing quite a lot of lino cut, mainly lino cut, but some also dry point printmaking. And I was asked to do an image of a pigeon, so I did a pigeon. And my daughter said, "You know what you should do? You should do an alphabet of animals." So I thought, I do everything she says, obviously. She's cleverer than me. So I spent most of the winter doing an alphabet of animals, which is sort of a sideline for this exhibition. But I thought you need a little bit of light relief from all the skulls. And it is relevant because I tried to cover a wide range of animals, have some birds, some reptiles, some fish, some mammals, and insects. And areas of the world. So it's a kind of very small attempt at a compendium. And then again, when I got to the museum, I realized one of the things I'd included is a dodo, and the museum has a dodo in its collection. Is it actually a stuffed dodo, Isla, or is it just a model of a dodo?
Well, I feel like I'm disclosing some secret information because it's often a little game we play with visitors. Can you spot the thing that isn't real in the taxidermy?
Okay. Well, I thought it was unlikely, to be fair, but it's there and it's great. So there's more links between what's in the exhibition and what's already in the permanent collections of the museum than I'd realised. So there will be those, and as I say, some dry points and some. I did a little bit of etching at our new print studio in Cockermouth a couple of weeks ago, so that I'll have those there, though not so many because I haven't had time. Oh yes, and the other thing I did for this, which I haven't got a picture of, is I went to Vega Brennan's print studio and used her letterpress printing equipment to make a little bit of a cipher with some encoded messages that hopefully people will take away and work out the message. So there is a message to this, if it isn't obvious, and hopefully that will engage people as well. I don't know, we'll see. I think that's me, but Isla has some things to say about the museum on a wider thing.
Does anyone have any quick questions for Fliss about Skulduggery before we move on to Isla? No, all questioned out. Though I want to know, Fliss, if would you like me to dig up my hamster for you? Like how far does the interest in
to be honest, I have got a rabbit skull, and rodent skulls I find a little bit creepy. Other skulls, bird skulls are great, sheep, deer, yeah, they're fantastic. But my rabbit skull, I think a cute little rabbit without fluff, not so cute. It's the teeth. So I suspect a hamster would be kind of similar. Well, next time. Thank you for the offer.
I'll bear you in mind, Fliss.
If you accidentally dig it up.
Isla, sorry, my pronunciations today are they're not spot on. Isla, would you like to share your slides, please? Well, sorry, Amy will share your slides, and Isla, you can talk us through them.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. It's really lovely to be on this call today, and I would like to say thank you to Fliss for encouraging me to come on. It's something that I've been meaning to do, but I just needed this extra push, and it was just fantastic to get a bit more excited about your exhibition. And we are really excited because it connects so well with the museum and with some existing projects that are going on. So lots of fantastic kind of crossovers going on there. I should maybe just give a little bit of context for those who don't know much about the People's Gallery or Kendal Museum, that we are a museum that sits just opposite Kendal train station, and we have collections of archaeology, geology, local social history, and the vast kind of nationally significant taxidermy gallery that we're currently doing a community co-production project to reinterpret. So there's a lot of crossovers there in terms of the topics that we've been addressing with the community group relating to the taxidermy, recognizing climate crisis and animal rights, and thinking about decolonization as well. So we've been doing lots of research and discussion, and that's going to produce some new interpretation in our gallery, as well as some creative responses. So it has so much synthesis with the themes of Fliss's exhibition. And for those who don't know much about the People's Gallery, we have a beautiful Victorian wool warehouse building, and in the downstairs we have a large open plan space which is for changing art exhibitions. And I think it reopened about 2 years ago as the People's Gallery, but was kind of used intermittently before then as an exhibition space for art and changing museum exhibitions. And recently we've been looking at the program for the next few years and thinking, how can we do some more development of our audiences and also our artists and the kind of work to be a bit more to kind of build on the existing principles of inclusivity and diversity. And we did a new call out recently. So this is just a little plug for that call out, that we are welcoming proposals from artists at the moment for our 2025 and 2026 program. And we are specifically focusing on artists that may not have exhibited in this space before, and artists that are working with practices that are kind of different to what has been exhibited. So artists working with new media or with socially engaged practice or with museum and research related practices. And there are some kind of eligibility conditions that relate to being from the local area, so South Lakes, but then Cumbria more broadly, as well as emphasising that for this round, we're going to focus on supporting emerging and non-establishment and artists from underserved groups. So that's the kind of focus of our current call out, but we are taking general proposals as well. But yeah, just a little plug for that before I say anything more. And I should mention that I think a few weeks ago you will have been introduced to Sally, who was explaining a little bit about our current Cry of the Callout exhibition upstairs. So just a reminder that that's still going on, and we've got some activities and talks still going on. So if you navigate to the event section of our website, you can find information about the Cry of the Callout exhibition, as well as this artist call out and any other upcoming exhibitions that we have. At the moment, we've got a really lovely exhibition on called, oh gosh, I haven't got a slide for this, unfortunately, but I'm going to butcher this pronunciation. It's called Hiraeth, which I think is a Welsh word. And the total title is Hiraeth, An Incomplete Journey of Art and Belonging by artist Earnse. And it's a lovely combination of really interesting textile work that is embedded in found objects and ready-mades. So it connects really well with our archaeology collections as well. And then I should say a little bit more as well about So the final slide that I've got about the exhibition that we've got coming after Fliss, which is an exhibition by Sierra Heaton and Dave Holston. Sierra is a multidisciplinary artist and painter who works from Marketplace Studios in Kendal, so she's very local to us, and her work explores the relationship between people, place, and personal encounters. So she draws on sensory experience and spatial narratives. She also runs a lot of workshops and arts engagement in the local area with communities, young people, and health organisations. And for this exhibition, she's teaming up with her dad, Dave Holston, who's also an artist based in Manchester, and together they will be showcasing a mixture of new and existing works from small to large scale, including various media, so painting and found objects and installation. So we've got a lot of
1 more minute left, Isla.
Yeah, no problem. So that's the kind of overview of the People's Gallery and what we've got coming up, and the call out that is currently live, and we're taking proposals until the end of August. Thank you.
Well, that looks like an exciting thing for, is it specifically aimed at sort of visual artists, or?
Yeah, we're trying to, it's been predominantly visual artists in the past, but we're trying to diversify, so we really welcome artists that kind of deviate from that.
Amazing. We've got a quick question from Amy.
Hi, Isla. Thanks for coming on to tell us about the gallery and the museum. It's absolutely wonderful. If you've not been, I would recommend it. Just a quick question. I've exhibited as part of a group, so I'm part of an art crit group, and we've exhibited jointly in the People's Gallery. So would that prevent any of us from applying to exhibit in a solo exhibition, or?
No, definitely not. No.
Good to know. Thank you.
A great question. Right, we're going to move on to Samuel Mason, who's got an exciting premiere coming up at Brewery Arts. And so we've got a video to share as well. I'll hand it over to you, Sam, and you can tell us all about it.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to this, by the way. This is so cool. Like I love hearing about all these Cumbrian art things I've never heard of before. This is awesome. But yeah, no, my project is, well, my event is a Cumbrian filmmaker showcase. So it's films made by Cumbrians. Oh, what's happened? Oh, there we are. Yeah, that's the poster for it. It's really terrible. But yeah, no, it's a Cumbrian event for Cumbrian filmmakers and creatives. And as I know, breaking into the film industry can be really difficult. So we also have a networking event afterwards. And we're inviting a bunch of producers, filmmakers from around England to come down to sort of share this creativity and see what Cumbria's got to offer in the film world. So all of these films are made in Cumbria. The one I made is Clarity. We've got Our Charlie, which is a Cumbrian folk horror short film. And we've got Lay-By, which was made in Carlisle, which is a comedy sort of satire short film. But they're all very well made, and some of them have already won loads of awards. But we just wanted to showcase our passion for film and how we've included Cumbria in our films. Because a lot of people in Cumbria go off to cities to make films, and we were like, well, we don't really need to go off to cities. We've already got an amazing backdrop here. You don't need to build sets or anything. So yeah, we're just showing our films together. So that includes a Q&A as well, if you're interested, or inviting a couple of people I'm not supposed to mention, but you will definitely know who they are. I might give you a little teaser. This is a very bad teaser. A little teaser. You'll have to figure this one out. Okay, Despicable Me 4 has just come out. There is a character called Silas Ramsbottom in Despicable Me 4, and the person who plays that character is going to be coming down. So if you can decipher that, yeah. Nevertheless, it's not about the celebrities that might come down or anything. It's just about sharing film and our passion for it. So my film Clarity, I made as a final major project for my second year at Kendal College, and it sort of became a lot bigger than that. We expanded the expanded the post-production process for a year. We've now perfected it, and so I've got a trailer to show for this film. If that's possible to show, that'll be amazing. Nice.
And here it comes.
Do you love me?
Of course I do.
Prove it. Wakey, wakey. You know me. I have to be thorough. I wonder if it means we've some good luck on the way. Do you love me?
A very dramatic trailer. Yeah. So that film, I really wanted to integrate the lakes. So I had access to this brilliant house, which was completely empty. And I wanted to film being sort of claustrophobic, but in the Lake District. So you're claustrophobic despite being in such an open place and such a beautiful place. So I really enjoyed that contrast. And so, yeah, we filmed, I don't know if you know where Holbeck Gill is. It's sort of towards sort of past Windermere. But yeah, we filmed there and the house is completely empty. So we used Kendal Age UK to help us furnish the place up and make it seem like it's been lived in for like 20 years. So yeah, no, it's the event is just showcasing what Cumbria has to offer in new young filmmaking talent, and hopefully get some networking together. And we just want to showcase film. We love film.
Amazing. Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing, Sam. Amy has popped a link into the chat for the event details and the tickets, because I imagine you're keen to sell tickets, Sam.
Yeah.
No, it looks really exciting, and it looks all such brilliant quality as well. And I think I've spotted, have you got a couple of Cumbrian actors in your film?
Yeah. Do you know them?
I recognise Jessica.
Oh yeah, Jessica's awesome.
Yeah.
We do have in one of the other films, Lay-By, we've got a fella, I've just forgotten his name, but he's in like Ted Lasso and a bunch of other projects, and he's based in Cumbria, so we managed to get him down for the project. And yeah, so honestly, we're just showcasing the best that we could find out of us Cumbrian filmmakers. We've sort of become friends, and our Charlie has some people who are in The Crown, like Coronation Street. It's going to be really fun for meeting creatives, not just film creatives, but in general, many artists are going down to sort of chat about how we can use art to tell different stories. My story that I've made in Clarity is about spiking and how, an experience like that, which was quite personal to me. And I've sort of expanded that into like a Black Mirror episode. But yeah, no, honestly, please come down if you want to see films based in Cumbria and utilizing Cumbria as well.
Amazing. We've just got a little question from Davey in the chat, which says, I need help planning a trailer for Cumbrian Movement. Can you link us up? So I'll leave you guys to message away.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, Sam, I've got a friend that I need to introduce you to, who is a Cumbrian filmmaker named Jack, who I think would be really interested in what you're doing. And I think it's always marvelous to hear sort of about young Cumbrian people doing things within Cumbria and not feeling the need to move off to Manchester or London and sticking in our county. It's something I personally really, really like to see. But yeah, I think it's fantastic what you're doing, and that you've provided sort of help to organise that for other people as well and give them a means to share what they've created. It looks like a really exciting event, which I don't think I'll be able to make, unfortunately, which is very disappointing. But never mind. We've got a question from Ian. Go on, Ian.
Gosh, that was quick, Imogen. Hi, Sam. I'm based in Ulverston. I don't know if you've heard of the Roxy in Ulverston. It does have a very active film group there, which do show films on spec, as it were. So I don't know if you heard of them.
Yeah, no, I've actually been to a few of those events. Really fun.
Yeah.
They always show like very artsy films, don't they?
Yeah,
Very
well, I think the
different.
last evening I went to, there was the Evening for Boring Men, it was called, and it was
Oh, I didn't go to that one.
yeah, it showed pigeon fanciers and people who collected bottle tops and stuff like that. But it was amazing films made locally as well. Some guy in Ulverston who looks after the grids, and everyone knows him and stuff, and so the character was all based on that. So, but they do have film nights such as your Brewery Arts, so it might be a good call for you.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like good fun. Yeah, absolutely. I'll look into it. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I feel like I've not presented myself as professionally as the other ones. I didn't do like a PowerPoint or anything. But thank you so much for like listening, everybody, for what I've been saying. Really appreciate it. So the event's on the 2nd of August, if you are interested. It's at 5 p.m. at the Brewery Arts. And yeah, so it's going to be a 60-minute event with 3 short films and a couple of music videos made in Cumbria. And afterwards, there's going to be a Q&A and then a networking event in the bar next door, because the beer is very good at the brewery, obviously, so we might as well utilize that. But yeah, thanks so much for listening.
I think you were very professional, personally, Sam. I think you did a marvelous job. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing. And I'm glad that you found the Cumbria Arts and Culture Network. So
Yeah.
you can pop on every Friday now. You know where we are. So sorry, coughs are back. We're gonna jump back to Jo Riley, because Jo's got something that she'd like to share with all of us. If you're ready, Jo.
Yeah, so sorry, Sam, this is a little bit of a downer after what you've just said. You sound like a great guy, and the person I'm about to talk about would have loved to have met you. So I just want to end the call by marking, I wasn't sure whether CACN have any precedent for this, whether we would have a minute's silence or a little round of applause. I don't know, but I just wanted to, because I was on here anyway, booked on. We at ArtGene, we lost our co-director and co-founder and brilliant artist, Stuart Bastick, last Thursday night. He passed away at the age of 58, with Maddie by his side, who had given him 24-hour-a-day palliative care. Stuart was born in Beverley in Yorkshire in 1965. He was a born maker, inspired by his granddad. We have his granddad's tools. His granddad taught him everything he knew about metalwork and woodwork. And he spent his early career in Hull, on the factory floor, in an ordinary, what you might call an ordinary job. Decided to pursue his artistic career and got some residencies, made big work, really large scale kind of sculpture. He's a sculptor. He went to Birmingham University to study sculpture, and then got a residency unbelievably with the Borough Council in the early 90s, 1991 I think it was. And the residency was with the shipyard, VSEL as it was then, on the shop floor again with the apprentices, the metalwork apprentices. And you've kind of, having been around Hull and Goole and those kinds of places, you felt a bit of an affinity with Barrow and fell in love with it. And he met Maddie Nicholson, who had come the year before on a residency with Welfare State International. I know many artists in the area owe their start in Cumbria to that, an amazing organisation. As part of his residency with the council, they gave him a really crappy room in a derelict building in the middle of town, and that building is now what we call the Nan Tate Centre, and it's where I'm sitting talking to you. And in those kind of 30 years, it's been transformed by Nicholson Bastick, because they went on to form a kind of artist company together. They did lots of residences together and separately all over the country. Liverpool, St George's Hall, massive installation in there in the 90s, and lots of others all around the country and overseas as well. So yeah, they worked together for decades, and having then created ArtGene in 2002, they set about kind of changing the Nantate, which was derelict, into the beautiful building that we have today, and which is still our studios and gallery. I chose this because this image is part of the One for Sorrow gate image I showed you earlier. So it was a collaboration between Stuart and Maddie, and speaks, if you like, to Stuart's metalworking career. So yeah, thank you very much for giving me the few minutes just to mark the passing of an amazing artist, and somebody who dedicated his life to supporting people like Sam. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jo. Very brave to come on and speak about Stuart. I think, no, you're all right, Jo. You're quite all right. I think it would be really nice if we could quickly have a round of applause for Stuart on this Zoom call to celebrate his life and all the amazing work he did for Cumbria. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening today. It's been a really nice call. And thank you to Jo for sharing all about Earnse and about Stuart as well. And thank you to Fliss and to Isla, oh my goodness. Thank you to Isla and Fliss, talking about Skulduggery and the Kendal People's Museum. And thank you to Sam for bubbling on with all your positive energy and talking about your film. That was really, really lovely to hear about. Yeah, and I'd just like to say thank you to all of you for looking after me as I put my chair's hat on for the last 3 weeks. I've really, really enjoyed sitting in Tom's seat and chatting to you all. It's been really, really nice and lovely to connect with people over email and that sort of thing. So thank you. But yes, next week we will have Tom Spate back with his chair's hat on, and everything will tick on as normal. So I think if we all say goodbye with, yes, well wishes for Stuart and Maddie, and thank you all for joining.
Yeah, and cup DM people. And if you're a man and you haven't had your prostate checked recently, go and get it done today. Thank you. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.